much, Camille, and thank you, Euromersive, for inviting me. It's been far too long since I've been back in Ireland, and I hope I get to come back again very soon after this event. It's very well attended and very heartening to see how many interesting and exciting companies are demoing, and then how many people are attending who are very interested in supporting the Association of Euromersive and developing the voice of Irish XR. So my talk is putting it into the European perspective and understanding what's going on at the continental level, and then trying to draw some lessons from some other markets. So for those of you who maybe didn't realize it, XR is still a very big deal, particularly for the European Commission. It has risen to the level of strategic priority, and this is represented most prominently last summer by the strategic communication about virtual worlds and Web 4.0. And it's kind of worth highlighting that we have now virtual worlds as a term, because we used to have VR, and then we'd have AR, and then people knew the difference between mixed reality, might use that term. And then we had XR, and then we had metaverse, which again, none of these terms are necessarily very new, but at a certain point they gained prominence and became things that we all either had to accept or we fought against using. But now we have a new term, and it's virtual worlds. And virtual worlds, practically speaking, is all of that. It is metaverse, it is XR. All these terms are referring to the same thing, which is this sector that is growing, and growing in strategic importance, because the European Commission sees how much this is going to impact industry and the creative sectors and how people interact with one another. And the European Commission is quite concerned, as well as several member states are quite concerned. What is the future of European XR, and how is Europe going to ensure that these technologies develop in a way that is acceptable and desirable, actually, for our shared culture and values? So they came out with this communication. They highlighted 4 critical pillars, very much with an industry focus, a skill-building focus, but they basically said, this is really, really important. We're going to be putting a lot of money and resources and a lot of political will behind it. This was also represented in a kind of a follow-up communication, which is about the Virtual World Partnership. And so partnership is kind of a technical thing, but what it is it's an association, a new association, an entity that has a relationship directly with the Commission, that has a role of developing the strategic agenda for research investments, particularly for things like Horizon. So in this list here, there's only 49 of them. But now XR and virtual worlds has reached that level, and it's intended to be maybe the 50th. It's quite political, so it's not making as much progress as some people want to see, but it is in the works, and it represents that virtual worlds is going to be receiving more investment and with a lot more strategic expectations and oversight. So to put into perspective what is Horizon already, not a lot of people realize there are so many Horizon projects receiving millions of euro that are focused on XR or very much featuring XR. Right now at XR4Europe, we are tracking over 80 active or soon to be active, approved and soon to be active Horizon projects. Some of them are involving Irish institutions, perhaps most prominently is Transmixer. There are probably some people in the room who are a part of that project, because it has several Irish universities, and I think and a startup as well. We're also, as XR4Europe, we're a part of a couple of projects I'll mention later. One of them is OpenVerse, and University of Galway is also a prominent partner in that project. So Horizon is putting already, historically and today, lots of strategic investment in R&D. And not just things like Transmixer, but we also have projects like SERMAS at VOXReality, XR to Industry, and Cortex 2, which some of you maybe have applied to these, because these are cascade funding. So what these do is they make Horizon grant funding more accessible to SMEs and to other parts of Europe that maybe aren't as prominent in leading and coordinating Horizon projects, because honestly speaking, these are very complicated mechanisms, application processes, and coordination So they're not, I think it's fair to say, they're not the most widely distributed around the continent. But with the cascade funding, that addresses some of it. So for many of the SMEs, if you're not tracking these types of projects and they're open calls, you really should be, because they offer sometimes 100,000 to 200,000 euro for 9 to 12-month projects that are what you want to make, that aligns with what these project objectives are. So Horizon is already putting lots of money, and they'll be putting more. But again, it's going to come with a lot more oversight. So now that we're talking about these EU projects, let's transition to what does this look like around the continent. So I'm going to transition now into a couple quick little case studies of how different countries are active in the European XR space, what their contributions are and how they differ maybe from one another. And the first one is Finland, and it has to be Finland, because last year Finland just really kind of raised the bar for every other member state. And not just member states, but every country in the world that aspires to be a leader in this space, because they presented the Finnish Metaverse Initiative, or the Finnish Metaverse Strategy. This was created closely in alignment with their local ecosystem, which, if you were in the industry for a while and kind of following it at the European level, you knew that the Finnish XR ecosystem was very, very active and very integrated with a lot of other countries and a lot of other partners. But when this came out, it was kind of the first, and still today the only, national strategy for metaverse, for virtual worlds, for XR. And a lot of other countries a lot of other national ecosystems, associations, and leading voices are trying to position their country to be next. But no one's done it yet. So if Ireland wanted to be the second country in the world to release a national strategy for these technologies, that opportunity is still there to be number 2. But Finland is different than a lot of other countries, and so it's really important to understand kind of what makes them successful with this, what makes them a good candidate to be the first one. And one is because if you see this landscape, they are incredibly vertically represented. Every step of this process, from hardware and even like fundamental technologies that will lead into hardware, all the way up through software and then actual companies to use it, Finland has this full scope. Not every country in Europe has that. So the Finnish Metaverse Strategy really is well suited for Finland, but in some of the meetings that we've been having, that we've helped to coordinate, Immersive has been a part of some of these discussions with the Spanish XR Association, the Norwegians, and others. It's not always the easiest thing to follow that, but there are lessons to learn from it. One of the main things that they do to make this really work, one, they have a super active investor ecosystem, because they have Slush. Slush is a major investor event, and they have, through one of their leading entities, the Helsinki XR Center, which is an initiative of the Metropolia University of Applied Sciences. They have Match XR. So it's an incredible showcase to take local startups, local SMEs, and put it into a global investment context, which is an uncommon opportunity, but it's something that they really prioritize, and it helps to make this strategy a lot more feasible than it would otherwise be if they weren't doing that. But if we move now to another country on the opposite spectrum, so you'll notice, because we're going to do Finland, we're going to do Spain, Bulgaria, and we're in Ireland. We've got the 4 corners of Europe. But Spain is very different. Spain is very grassroots, but they are a major exporter of services and production. And so this map is just a little snippet of a European landscape research that XR4Europe has just finished data collection on, so these are preliminary results. But you see that they're serving the world. Particularly, they're serving countries where they have a linguistic commonality. It's easier for them. So they're serving a lot of Central and South America, and it makes sense. And those are major business partners for them. So it's they're really leveraging their language, which obviously Ireland would have an advantage in certain countries like the US and Canada, South Africa, Australia, a lot of these other places. So Spain is a great example of how to leverage common language internationally to create opportunities for business and for collaborations. They also have a super active association, Immersive, They're one of our members as well. They're very, very active, very grassroots, but they're not the only one actually, because they're, kind of a Republican system. So they have grassroots organizations all over, and it's really important that Immersive bring them together through a lot of events. And they're also supported, though, to export. So here's a little image of a trade delegation that goes to VR Days Immersive Tech Week every year. They have a very, very large booth, and you can't miss it. There's a big sign and a big expo and demo of Spanish-made XR that's ready for business, whoever wants to follow up. So it's also highlighting how important trade support and delegations are if you really want to grow your ecosystem and your SMEs in a global sense. But now into Bulgaria. And Bulgaria for me, because I started my XR career in Istanbul, so I'm coming from like a peripheral European Balkans type of perspective. And Bulgaria is really great and fascinating to me because they're really, really small. They're both small as, they don't have a local market. So all their companies, they have to export. That's first and foremost. They're not even thinking about doing XR locally. They're only looking abroad. They're looking at the rest of Europe, which is where they do most of their business, but they, in a little report that we did prior to our European landscape earlier this year, they revealed that they're thinking outside of Europe even. They want they already serve the US, they want more. But the Gulf Coast, United Arab Emirates is their big growth market. Saudi Arabia is a big growth market for them. They're really going after those markets. And they're not the only ones to have told us that, but they were the first ones to say that's where their priority is. So Bulgaria is a great example of don't just think of the big markets that you've known about. Think about markets that are emerging and growing and are looking to be buyers. And Bulgaria does also, even though they're small, they investigate through local initiatives like the Createch Summit. They work with Norway and other bilateral relationships to bring investment, bring trade opportunities in there so that they can sell their services into Norway. So these are, again, that's through the support of a local trade initiative. And so these are three countries, but putting it into a bigger scope of Europe, all these lines are export from Europe, from one country to another country. So you see in Europe in the single market, tons of cross-border stuff. So first thinking is sell to other parts of Europe. It's going to probably be the easier. But the single biggest export market is the US, and every country effectively is exporting to the US. So this isn't every country or every company that responded in our landscape survey. Many companies are really focusing on local stuff. But certain markets, it's like 70–80% are exporting. That's where they see better value. So where does XR for Europe fit in? XR for Europe fits in because we came out of a Horizon project called XR for All, and its objective was to support SMEs and startups in Europe to get their footing and to find ways to find new opportunities outside of their home markets. So we're the lasting legacy of that project. We're also a part of two projects right now that are what we call coordination and support actions in support of the Virtual World Partnership, and that's XR4HUMAN and OpenVerse, two projects that are trying to help define and support developers in Europe to do things in a way that satisfies European values, but not just satisfies European values, helps to define European XR is different than other parts of the world. And it's more valuable, it's more desirable, it has a competitive advantage because it is adhering to our values. We also have another project with VR Health Champions, which I can talk about a little bit later if anyone's interested in the medical space. So we conduct research, we facilitate thought leadership at events and online, we support startups through partners like Startup Wise Guys, but we don't do it alone. We have as members companies and universities, but our core members are national and regional associations because our greatest impact is helping national and regional associations to access and recognize opportunities outside of their home market and to share opportunities in their home market for others. So we work very, very closely with our members, and we work not only just with our members, but other associations like ours that are at the European level, EuroXR, Euromersive, OpenAR Cloud, and these things. These are also other entities that are kind of pursuing in their own way the same type of initiative. But So we're not alone. And it's incredibly important to support your local associations and communities however you can, while it being members or being volunteers or just being active and conversant. And through supporting your local initiatives, you're part of a European efforts in the European landscape, and you're part of the global landscape in this sector. So I'd like to definitely close by saying support your local communities and associations, please. And I'll finish there. But if anyone would like to reach out, definitely do so. I would love to meet everybody here at some point.